This week's local marketing update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/Scott P. Gallagher.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you our Local Marketing Industry Weekly Update. Now, our next week's LMS member faculty call with live questions is going to be May 29th, next Wednesday. And the LMS membership provides access to our private Facebook group, live questions, and access to our private members portal. Now, this week's update, we've got a few things that we're going to be covering, just 3 different items. But we've got some really good information and discussion for our weekly tips this week. But for the update, we're going to take a look at what Matt Cutts has to say about domain clustering and some additional changes that are happening with that. Some interesting filtering options with Bing. And especially for SEO values such as keyword competition values. And we're going to talk about how Yelp protects consumers and essentially how websites are protected against fake reviews across the website. Yelp being the largest, these are strategies that others are likely or as well have in place. Now, for our tips, last week we talked about acquiring followers, fans, foes, and different content propagation. And this week, I wanted to try something new and actually bring in case studies. And we're going to be looking at different local businesses on what they've done, what we've done for them, starting results, results that have transpired over the 90-day and 120-day and 6-month periods, and exactly what is being created and what type of content. And for a local internet marketing agency tip, last week we talked about those content needs plans, and this week we're going to take that further and elaborate on the strategy towards this case study that we're going to talk about in the local business tip. Now, if you haven't been yet, get into the LMS member Facebook group. There's some good discussions going on there. We've had some new member introductions, and another highlight of just a discussion that I want to see what people have to say about Scott Meadows' discussion of IBP software. IBP. I've got my notes. IPB. IBP stands for, I think it's not international, or no, Internet Business Promoter. It is software. It's software that I initially used several years ago. It's not available on the Mac, that I've learned, and there's an alternative to it. But I've got a little bit of a beef with software packages that are out there that are SEO-based software. Now, the only time I've ever used any SEO software is to generate reports, and those reports are used for 2 purposes in my company. Number 1, to report to customers regularly. So you have an automated reporting system. And then number 2, used in the sale process. And some of this SEO software, they generate some good reports that can be used in the sale process to help educate consumers or customers and prospects on your services. But other than that, all the different features that are involved in that software is essentially automation. And automation to get different links, or automation to get different citations and whatnot. Those aren't going to get you anywhere in the SEO world, period, all day long. You're not going to get anywhere. For reporting purposes, if you want to get an understanding of backlink counts or anchor text or title tag counts, you can use different software to run that. IBP is a solution that's out there. I pay a membership to SEO Moz. They're an online tool. They're updated. They're big, and they provide some very good data. And that's really what we're looking for, is data, not necessarily promotion. So I just wanted to share some of that discussion and see what the LMSers have to come up to say. So our local business tip this week, I said I was going to talk about a case study. And I thought I would use a relatively recent client. This is a business that has been with us for exactly 6 months. 6 months is a very important anniversary. That's why I chose this client. The reason being that 6 months is an important anniversary is I always talk about a contract. I don't have contracts for my clients, but I do ask for verbal commitments. Most SEO companies will ask for contracts. And the reason why we really need contracts is that it takes time to do what we're doing. We're marketing, we're paddling upstream, and it takes time to get that exposure in a lot of cases. And so a client, a local business in a relatively competitive environment in the northeast suburbs of Chicago, in the field of chiropractic, with no website. And how does somebody in that position that has zero web presence, no social status at all, never done social media, never claimed any profiles with any of the exposure that's out there, how do they get exposure when there are 30 to 40 different competitors? We just learned of a study last week about Bing, that Bing said the #1 spot gets 50% of click-throughs. Google says 40%. Well, the number's somewhere between 40 and 50%. That's a lot of traffic. You've got to get up there. If you're not in the top 3, you're not going to get traffic. So how does a business owner go about this on the internet? 6 months is an important anniversary because at that point in time, they should be getting their return on investment. After running some of the numbers and the #1 spot and expectations and closing rates and value of patients, this chiropractor should be expecting 5 to 10 new patients per week in a #1 spot for searches for about 30% of their top keywords and rankings for that. Well, that's definitely going to give them a return on investment, even if they're spending $1,000 a month for this service. In the first 6 months, they're not going to have rankings, they're not going to get a return on investment. Well, you should be getting that after the 6-month period. Rankings are one thing, business results are another thing. You've got to be getting business results. And therefore, in this scenario, the one way to get those business results was to get this customer #1. And remember, they had no website, they had no web presence. Well, they are #1, and they are getting their return on investment. And it is possible and very, very feasible. An interesting aspect of this particular client is, we'll say back in the day, it was relatively easy to rank businesses without websites. Well, this is a client spending $1,000 a month, made a $6,000 commitment. We sell basic websites for $1,500 to $3,000. Well, we weren't ranking in the 4th month. And we had done everything like we had done for other particular clients and following the plan. And we were ranking, just not where we were supposed to be. We realized within the 6th month we weren't going to do it. And provided the client a basic WordPress website, no charge. It was included in the service. It's not a fancy website. It's not put up for conversion, although it's got components of conversion for it. It is converting, not optimally. We created a video walkthrough. Testimonial video is still in the works. The client implemented a review acquisition program. Traditional review and citations were acquired. Profiles were claimed. There was about 40 profiles claimed. Those are all the profiles that are inside the LMS plan. And the one thing that was holding this client back was a website on the 4th month. Implemented that. Within the 5th month, they were ranking #1 for about 15% of their keywords. And now the client is ranking #1 for over 50% of their top keywords, without question. And they're ranking for #1 for their top keywords, their top 3 keywords as well. So when I talk about a local internet marketing agency tip and the strategy behind that, I'm going to get into a little bit greater detail as to what were some of those citations and what were some of the main components within that website. Now, one thing that I found that was really interesting was something that just happened very recently that I do want to report on. This is a really big deal, and this is the power of title tags. And once a website and a business, so understand there are two entities on the internet. Once a website and a business both have built up authority, understanding that you understand what I mean by these entities having authority on the internet and solid authority, real authority. What little changes, how we can make little tweaks and little changes that make major impacts. And for example, with this one client, once that authority, and that authority exists right now, to be able to just manipulate title and H1 tags enough to get other rankings. This exposure is profound, and we still do it at Local Marketing Source. In fact, for these videos that you're watching right now are a big key to that. And ensuring that keywords are in the title of the video, that are in the title of the blog post, that the video is embedded on, that are in descriptions of social media content that's going out there and being shared. No different than back in the day that we were just looking for plain anchor text. But that's what we're going to cover a little bit. Now, this week's update, I wanted a thing called domain clustering. And, you know, I talked a little bit about it last week and more about it now. And at one point in time, we called it, you know, indented listings. And we were able to get the same domain name to be listed twice on a search engine results page, or a SERP. And typically you have 10 listings, and 2 spots means you have 20% of the real estate. Well, if you have the top 2 spots, I mean, you're capitalizing on 75% of the traffic. Just, I mean, you're cannibalizing everybody else in major ways. And so, getting double intended listings, there was little tricks that we could do on a website to get this accomplished, and we always thrive to achieve that. And then Google started playing around a lot more in the last couple of years of seeing. I mean, there's results pages that have seen all 10 listings from the same domain name. Well, they've gone through their testing, and Google has ultimately come out and decided what they feel are going to be the best type of results and how to train people and whatnot. And the front page, we're going to see much more diversity. Up until recently, we were able to see 4 different links, typically for a business in a listing. Now, what they don't talk about, and I want to bring to note here, guys, is that local businesses have 2 ways to rank. You can rank the business, and you can rank the website individually. The business ranks in formerly Google Places or local Google plus local listings. That's where you'll see a little push pin when you see a listing. And the other is organic. And creating blog content and creating blog posts at a minimum of once a month, but preferably once a week, and ensuring that your geographical modifiers, which your geomods or your town name, and your core service or your core product are included in the titles of blog posts. That's likely what's going to make up your keyword list anyhow, or your geomods and your core product or service. And ensuring that you have blog posts with images, that images are properly labeled and images are hosted on public domains. And have some of these posts that occasionally have a video here and there from your YouTube channel. These are blog posts that are going to show up in local searches. And these are blog posts that are now showing up. These are listings that are showing up above local listings. These are organic listings. So there's a real another good tip as well for you. And that's a way for you to capitalize on getting more of that real estate. It's not that difficult. In fact, this client that I was talking about has listings now for their keywords that they're ranking 1 and 2. Number 1 being an organic listing, and number 2 being the number 1 local listing. And so for any LMS students that are on the line, as you know, I'll be happy to start screen sharing and having discussions about these case studies as we do it a little bit further along. So don't hesitate to raise your hands. Of course, with screen sharing, you're going to get all the details of the particular client. I guess that's a benefit of the LMS membership. But feel free to raise your hands or post your questions in the questions box. I had mentioned Bing adds some new filter options. They're doing search query reports, ad visibility reports, and keyword competition values. Now, search query reports, it's going to give you data on not just keyword searches, but full keyword queries. For example, when you're taking a geomod and a core service of a local business, so I'm going to use Chicago and dentist. You've got different core services in there. You've got dentist and dentistry. And then so when you put these together, you're going to create. You also have different combinations and permutations. So you may have Chicago dentist, or somebody may type in dentist Chicago, or dentist in Chicago, or dentist near Chicago. And these are just different variables. Well, Google is not very good. They show, it's amazing how many different situations it gets quite different results. And when you go and use Google's keyword tool, you've got to add all of these combinations and permutations together in order to get a good thing. And it's very difficult because Google has added some of it together in some cases, and in other cases, a certain combination is not added into the pool. So it's rather difficult to estimate local searches from a Google keyword tool. And this Bing tool claims to be able to amalgamate search phrases together as to what people are looking for to give you additional search query report. Understanding that their market share is 15%, you could very easily make good guesstimations about the internet as a whole. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is how Google has implemented a new rating system for local businesses. And, Google's been all over the map, having a 3-star rating at one point, and, upgrading to the 30-point Zagat review system. Well, with the 30-point Zagat review system, you had multiple items that you could rate a business on. It became difficult because if you didn't rate them on all the items, then the review was, rendered invalid to a certain degree. And consumers got confused. And especially when Google bought Zagat, they tried to implement the full Zagat review system. And obviously it hasn't worked. And so Google has reverted back to a 5-star system, overall rankings, as well as individual aspects such as cleanliness and service and whatnot. And the 5-star rating then processes a review based off of the 30-point scale. And so the 30-point scale is still used. Excuse me. It's still used for businesses to, for consumers to evaluate a business. But when consumers review a business, they're using a 5-point scale. And finally, Yelp, how Yelp protects against from fake reviews. This is a big deal. I mean, fake reviews can be left for malicious ways and manipulative ways. Paying somebody to leave a review, is a manipulative way. Leaving reviews for a competitor is a very malicious aspect. And it happens all day long. And so if Yelp gets cluttered with fake reviews, this business is great when they really don't, or this business stole money from me when they didn't, nobody would go to Yelp on a regular basis. And so these companies have really put a lot of time and effort into curbing fake reviews. One of the big things that Yelp did last year that really got them a lot of PR as well was setting up the sting operations. And they, within their algorithm, they can flag businesses and identify maybe this is a potential candidate leaving fake reviews. And they set up a sting op and publicly humiliate that business. Pretty good. We live in America. Fear. Now, if they're not caught red-handed while attempting to really, deceive these customers, they'll still get hit with a wall anyway. And that's what we call the review filter. Now, we don't know exactly all the factors that are involved in these review filters that exist. But we know that review filters do exist. That's a fact. That has been publicly disclosed, and we see it. We know, if a business has 30 reviews left, 9 of them are showing, where are the other ones? And so we could really make assumptions and testing based off of what these filters are looking for. But really, at the end of the day, these review filters want to accomplish one thing. They want reviews that are left by legitimate people to go through, and reviews that are left by illegitimate people to not go through. It's a switch, on and off. Go through or don't go through. When I look at a review, or when this algorithm looks at a review, it's got to decide based off of factors whether it's going to go through the filter or not go through the filter. And with some sense and with some logic, we could derive, different factors that the filters are going to look at. But it comes down to what we call authority. And the more authority somebody has in the real world, or the more authority somebody has in the internet, the more they're going to be listened to. In other words, the more authority you have, or your profile is going to have on the internet, the more Yelp is going to listen to what you have to say about local businesses. And so somebody that opens an account today, leaves a review today, and then never logs into that account again, really can't be trusted. So the length of time that an account is opened is a factor that's involved in building trust. The number of reviews, the frequency of reviews, the velocity of reviews, even the review rating system. We know that 85% of reviews on Yelp have 3 stars or more. So if your review profile is a majority of negative reviews, well. So think of these, there's a variety of different factors that are involved in the review filter that we can talk about, but that comes down to the second way. And so most importantly, these review filters are very important. And for local businesses, any way to get reviews in an unorganic method is going to fuck you up. It's that simple. All these websites, it's a violation of their terms and conditions to solicit reviews, and they could very easily identify how reviews are solicited. At one point in time, Google promoted a point of review system, putting it into your business and asking customers, if you wanted to leave a review, go ahead. I mean, that's bogus. The number one form of marketing that exists and has always existed is word-of-mouth advertising, right? Well, reviews are just a form of word-of-mouth advertising. And if you've ever gone out trying to hand out flyers for a business and say, here's a flyer, go talk about this, go to the drive-in, come tonight, come to our garage shop. I mean, it's hard to get people to talk about something unless they've had a really good experience. But if you've really fulfilled some of their needs, then they're willing to talk about that. And the way to fulfill a customer's needs is to provide them with the service that they intended on getting from you and over-deliver on that, right? So every business if they're providing a good service and they're over promising and under delivering, over delivering and under promising, they're going to have happy customers. And the way we want to translate that into the online world to get more reviews is to identify those happy customers that have already said good things to them and make it really easy for them to leave reviews. But don't give them a point of review system in the office, or tell them to leave a review. Your IP address is being tracked. So we create little postcards that aren't handed out to everybody. Don't do that, because then you're going to get a bunch of bogus reviews, unauthoritative reviews. And with unauthoritative reviews, your business is not going to have authority to it. It's not going to be good for you. You don't want volume of reviews. You want reviews left by trustworthy, real people that are happy to talk about you, that are going to talk about you on their social channels, that are going to share your information, that are going to like your page and go and leave a genuine review for you. You find these customers out, okay, a dentist, a Korean restaurant. People are going to say, great job, I'm so happy with you. The staff have got to be trained for this year. Ding, 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 ding. When somebody says something good for them, you hand them a little card that says, hey, thanks for saying something good for us. Would you mind sharing that information with other people? If you do, just go to this website and let them know what you think. Or scan this QR code with your smartphone and leave a review. They're going to leave it on their own time and on their own devices, not inside the office. You're not going out and asking for people to say something about you because they've already said something about you, so you're not soliciting reviews. You're just asking for people to say stuff a second or a third time for something that they've already said. That's word of mouth. That's word of mouth marketing. And that is a big secret in marketing a local business on the internet. Oh, I lost my page here. But in any event, that is coming to the end of our weekly update. And now I want to talk about some local internet marketing agency tips. But if you can just give me a few seconds, and I'll be right back. If you recall, before I leave, we're going to be covering some of the strategy. We're going to be covering some of the strategy that we were talking about earlier for our weekly tip for local businesses and the case study for this local business. So I'll be right back.